All right, and just like that, it is over. WrestleMania, we put a ribbon on it, and we are back. And one thing, Trendsetter, that I got to talk to you before, and we got a lot to discuss, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. We were talking about when when Trendsetter would go to AVN, it'd be something called the AVN flu. And now we're coming back from Mania, 2 of the last 3 years. It's going to have a little toll on us. And what that is like there's something, I guess, when you mix in with wrestling fans, you're not only just, sharing the moment, but you're sharing a lot of other stuff too, because, man, coming back is a little wiped out. And then we're hoping and praying that the wrestling world is kind to us. But, man, we got so much to discuss. But I'm feeling better. Trendsetter, how you doing?
Well, ask me another question. I'm doing all right. I think a lot of it had to do just also that added on to the fact that when you're in WrestleMania weekend, you're doing a whole bunch of things. You're going to so many places. You're obviously sharing a lot of things with people in terms of vicinities and space, and people are vaping or breathing on you and stuff like that. So it's not the most ideal in terms of your a germaphobe in a way. But ultimately, I just think the combination of being run down, having so much to do, but at the same time trying to enjoy our time there, think it just kind of caught up with us. I didn't feel the same way during WrestleMania 39, but this one definitely caught up to me.
Yeah, Texas was the last one. That's why I said 2 to 3 years. So, yeah, it's something I guess you have to deal with now going forward too. But we're fine. We're good. We're 100%, almost near 100%. So we're coming back to you guys with our little WrestleMania recap. We are High Spot Podcast. I'm Jeff Martin alongside my tag team partner, the trendsetter Brian Berga. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Like and subscribe to Give Us a Shot Network as well as HSP Media on YouTube. And we are back in Jersey. And I will say this: it was cold too. Sunday, not so much. It's bearable, but Saturday, I don't know how it was for everyone else, but I can pretty safely bet that it was a really frigid WrestleMania. We still don't know when the venue is for next year, but if it's in Minnesota, at least it's indoors. But man, I'm telling you, like I said last episode, they got to stop with this Northeast thing. I love it. It's convenient for us. But as far as being out there, April is unpredictable. May is unpredictable too here in the Northeast as well. So when you put those variables out there, cold weather, the Northeast, a WrestleMania, something that should be indoors because it is your Super Bowl. The wind, it was just tough, man. That was tough. But again, that's a factor. We can't control Mother Nature, but we did have a great time. Cody Rhodes finished the story, but let's go talk about SmackDown and give you the lowdown, Trendsetter, because it was kind of with everything that happened at WrestleMania. We kind of, Cody now is the new face of WWE. Roman Reigns taking some time off. And now the question was all about the Bloodline. What was next for the Bloodline after WrestleMania? Roman Reigns, reports are saying that he won't be back till the SmackDown before SummerSlam. So that's going to be a good while. What is next for the Bloodline? You heard over WrestleMania weekend that Jacob Fatu had signed with WWE. There were always rumors that Tama Tonga had signed also with WWE. So they're going to bring in more players. And that's something that Jey Uso kind of insinuated in interviews before. And we kind of felt like it's time for a reinvention of the Bloodline because you have to add more characters to these stories. And we got exactly what the rumors were saying. Tama Tonga made his debut solo. Sikoa, basically, who, if you remember the whole storyline, he is basically now would take over in Roman Reigns' absence should anything happen to him. So there's no Roman Reigns. And after 0-36, after having defeated John Cena about 1,000,000 years ago, or what feels like 1,000,000 years ago, Solo Sikoa was at the forefront. And he basically now has taken that lead. And whether Paul Heyman likes it or not, that's the way it's going. And we saw Jimmy Uso out, Tama Tonga in. What are your thoughts of seeing Tama Tonga in WWE?
It was good to see him there because you didn't know what kind of reaction was going to get. The crowd instantly knew who he was when he walked in. That's always a good sign, right?
Yeah.
And just it left you to what you wanted to, not only for the Raw, but the SmackDown after WrestleMania. You want there to be impact. You want there to be continuation. You never want to lose momentum. Granted, it's still following and piggybacking off of WrestleMania, but you still want that ability to surprise the audience and to create intrigue. And what better intrigue now in terms of the Bloodline storyline, again, evolving into something completely different. We kind of had different versions of it. This version with Roman taking time off after losing to Cody. You're thinking, okay, where do they go now? And here you go. Here's another chapter in the story of the Bloodline. What's going on there? Could they be inner turmoil? I mean, you saw it too, where he was basically Solo taking the reins of the tribal chief. It's great. It's awesome for the product. And it's also a scenario where it's, how can I say this? It pays homage a little bit to the die hardcore fan who knows this, but also for the people who are watching it who maybe don't know what's going on. It still creates intrigue where you're interested in finding out what's going on, further investing into this. So I thought it was a home run. That was a huge success.
And like you said, though, surprisingly, they knew who he was, and you could tell because Fox does what they do. They bleep out and they go to dark when the crowd starts cursing, and obviously they got it. They've done their research, so good for them. Because sometimes you're wondering, is it going to hit with the fans? Is it going to resonate? Should we just, sometimes the case is made, well, they should start an NXT so we can build them up, or we should do video packages. So Triple H kind of took a shot at this, a long shot, and was like, well, let's introduce him. And obviously, PW Insider had reported that he was, cited in Detroit, and we saw him and basically doing Solo's bidding as they kick Jimmy out. So now Jimmy's out, and now we're playing Booker here and wondering what's next. Obviously, right now, Paul Heyman really has no control. He's kind of at the orders of Solo now. And as much as you think it was orders of the tribal chief Roman Reigns, kind of you think it's not, because obviously Solo stomped on the phone, and then when he went to check on Jimmy, of course, you got the stare down that Tama gave Heyman, and then Solo again reemphasizing by orders of the tribal chief. And it looks like Solo, I think Tama's taking orders from Solo. But what about that dynamic, though? I think that Solo is ready. I think he's prepared for this. And I think while we were downplaying it for those months, man, I think that the only thing that would worry about me is that he went over. And I don't know if wins or losses matter that much to you in this case, but he went over a lot. And now you're trying to take him seriously as a possible leader. What are your thoughts on that? I think it doesn't matter to me. I think Solo in just one night was able to rest any concern that I have of him as a future leader of this bloodline, the way this is going.
Well, to answer your last question was, does the Owen forever after defeating John Cena matter in this scenario? No, perception is reality. Granted, it wasn't helping his character out a lot that he was winless and was basically the scapegoat for a lot of defeats the Bloodline had initially before Roman Reigns left. Now, in this scenario, has taken the reins of being the tribal chief now. It blows all of that out the window. You don't remember that. You forget about all that now because now he's in this situation. As opposed to, is he's ready or not? I don't know, to be honest with you, because we haven't really seen a lot of Solo. So if he's ready or not doesn't really matter. This is his shot. This is his opportunity. I'm pretty sure the WWE wouldn't put this wouldn't put Solo in the situation if they didn't believe he was ready. So we'll find out. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm gonna have to probably take WWE at their word now. They have hit home runs all the time, but right now in the scenario, which is such an intriguing storyline, which is the bloodline and what's going on there, which is going to lead into SummerSlam, and we have plenty of time to talk about that and the possible return of Roman Reigns, or when the return is going to be, or how the return is going to happen. Um, to me, it's like, here we go, something brand new. Let's see if it goes. Let's see if it works. And I think right now, for the most part, the interest is there. And so if you do stumble along the way, it's okay because it's supposed to happen. But I'm pretty excited about this. Looking forward to what's going to happen the next couple of weeks leading into the summer.
They have done a good job as far as building storylines and making you want to see what's next. So I'm looking forward to next week's SmackDown, because you have a lot of stuff going on. Not only what's going on in the Bloodline storyline and whether Roman Reigns is going to react, or what's the injury status of Jimmy Uso, and what's next between Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa, and of course the addition of more members to the bloodline. So it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks, as we also now we're only 2 weeks away, or no, actually not even 2 weeks. So we're a few weeks away from WWE Backlash in Paris, France. So that's going to be another thing too. Who's going to be Cody's first challenger? And we kind of got the well, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be AJ Styles and LA Knight in a rematch from WrestleMania. LA Styles gets the victory there, but listen, AJ had a very impressive victory in a triple threat against Kevin Owens and Rey Mysterio. And, he looks strong too. So it's now the question, what do you want to see? Do you want to see LA Knight, and do you want to see AJ Styles? Again, you wouldn't put LA Knight in the situation because you're afraid that, hey, if he doesn't beat Cody here, where does he go? But AJ Styles, to me, is a dream matchup, and one that I just read saying that it's never happened. They've never fought each other. So I would be all in to see AJ Styles beat LA Knight and then take on Cody Rhodes and be his first challenger.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen. I think AJ Styles is going to come out victorious in the second match between these two guys, and you definitely know there's going to be a rare match down the road. But I think AJ is going to become the number one contender. And the reason why is just because, to your point as well, these two have never faced each other before. Kind of hard to believe, right? That's never happened before. But also, I just feel right that AJ's made it perfectly known during doing media during WrestleMania 2 that his time in the ring is getting shorter and shorter, and there is this light at the end of the tunnel for him where he knows it's coming to an end sooner rather than later. So, in the scenario for helping out not just Cody but also putting AJ in compelling, interesting storylines and scenarios where you have him for this amount of time, you want to use him right or use him correctly to benefit yourself as a company. Why wouldn't you put him in this position? There's no doubt in my mind, although the two have never really faced each other, that just the intrigue itself of these two facing each other for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And I'm not calling it the Universal anymore. I'm calling it the WWE Championship until somebody else corrects me and tells me I'm wrong. But man, that's got literally intrigue and interest, and people are going to want to see that regardless. Just the matchup between the two of them that will potentially happen at Backlash. So yeah, I'm picking AJ to be the number one contender here.
As far as the women go, we now have a number one contender for Bailey's championship. Congratulations to Bailey for winning and defeating Io Sky at night 2 at WrestleMania, and a really good match too. We were talking about how maybe her moment kind of got a little bit restrained just because of the lead into it, but they had an excellent match. But talk about now Naomi defeating Tiffany Stratton, and of course giving her first loss too. So obviously there's been an emphasis of making Naomi. I know she had her, Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair won their matchup at WrestleMania, so she's on a little bit of a momentum here. But the emphasis of, since Naomi came back, really hadn't been pushed properly, and the people, the internet trolls saying, "Oh, this is what she signed up for, here to lose." But now she has a number one contendership against Bailey, and they fight next week. Listen, I mean, I don't think they're going to take the title away from Bailey too soon, but do you think this is going to be a series of matches here? Because it seems like it's two faces going up against each other.
It could be that. I think it's not just a series of matches, but I think when you see a scenario where there's a title match on SmackDown, not that they haven't done it before, where it's become something where people are going to tune in to see this because it's legit. But I think there's going to be something there where Tiffany Stratton's going to cause kind of a rift or an issue. So I don't think the main storyline focus in terms of who Bailey would be feuding with at Backlash will be a Naomi. In terms of, to answer your question, are there going to be a series of matches for this? I think it's going to be more a rivalry between Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany getting back at Naomi for causing her to get her first loss, jumping in front of the line in terms of Tiffany thought she should have been the one to compete for the title. So either that, maybe a triple threat match, something like that. But to me, as much as respect that I have for Naomi and as happy as I am for Bailey and all that she's done in the span of a couple of years in terms of reinventing herself, the whole thing with Damage Control, which I don't think it's over yet too. So I think that's kind of a question mark too. What's going on with Damage Control? Do we see them kind of involved before Backlash into this whole scenario with Bailey? But I think right now it's the best time to showcase Tiffany Stratton. She didn't have a match at WrestleMania. Maybe she got called up a little bit too late, closer to WrestleMania. I think really this coming, as I call, a new season for WWE after WrestleMania. It's kind of a new season, a clean slate, basically. I think this is going to be an enormous time for Tiffany Stratton to kind of promote her and push her up there, because before you know it, Jade Cargill, she's going to go on her own. You're going to have Charlotte back, and these are individuals that I could see her working with, and it would be great to see. So I don't think it's going to happen with her and Naomi. I think Damage Control is still going to get involved, but right now, for next week, I think Tiffany Stratton's going to get herself involved in this.
Again, where does Damage Control find themselves in this picture? Because obviously they weren't there last week, and you got to think that Io Sky wants a shot at her title too.
Yeah.
And those tag team titles, to me, on Asuka and Kairi Sane, are they on borrowed time? Because who's beating Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill as long as they're as long as they're a tag team? And you're talking about eventually split up. I don't think they're going to split up anytime soon. I think they're going to have a run as those tag team champions.
But eventually, these two are going to go their separate ways. Yeah.
But not anytime soon. So you've got that, which is exciting, because who's beating those two? Those are just they're phenomenal. And obviously there's a few
intended.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like you said, Reigns a few times there, and I thought.
Yeah.
So there's definitely excitement there with Jade and Bianca. So it seems like the women are getting involved. We'll see what Damage Control does. Any other takes from SmackDown? that you know take away from this past weekend as we finally put a ribbon on the whole WrestleMania story here, and we head into the new era? How about SmackDown and continued sellout and the stage for Raw and SmackDown? They're going to a small set because they just can't keep the fans away. The fans are just, as long as the fans want to buy the tickets, they're going to do everything they can to fill the seats. What'd you think too of the stage? But besides that, what do you think? Anything else stand out to you from this past episode of SmackDown?
For the stage factor, I don't think. I know people are trying to making it a big deal. I think it's great to the point where, listen, back in the old days, I love the big Titantron, the big ramp goes down. But if you need to sacrifice that in order to fill more people in, and similar to something that Triple H said during his presser after WrestleMania, he really wants to showcase the audience. He wants to showcase the people. And I think that's a great, not just from a a raw standpoint where the fans are going to get behind it and be like, yes, we want to be a part of this whole scenario and this whole experience. I think it's more of just people are coming back because they feel it's a new regime. They're liking the way things are being run. They like the way things are being presented. Like I said, it's not always going to be a home run. It's not everyone's going to be happy with the way things turn out or way people are positioned within the company. That's always a given, right? But I think they like the fact that there's a feeling of a level of fairness, of a level of, hey, listen, if we are showcasing our emotion that we want something different or something to watch, that they're going to be listening to the audience. Like I said, the audience is not going to be dictating all the time, but at least in this regime, you're going to feel like they're being listened to. And so for that, it's a scenario where it's a win-win. I don't really care too much about the set. I think that was proven a little bit in terms of WrestleMania 2, where the set was a little bit smaller for good reason compared to 39. And in terms of what I took from SmackDown away, I mean, we had the Bloodline storyline, had Bailey. It ended with who is going to compete next week for the number one contendership for the WWE Championship. I really take away from SmackDown and Raw. We'll talk about that too, probably, right? But I would take from it is that with this and the draft approaching, now I'm kind of thinking, where is the W Championship going and where is the World Championship going? Where's the Women's W Championship going? So a lot of things to remain unanswered. But I think it's the first time I could ever go into a draft, which, hey, listen, if anybody can do it, I'll give credit where credit due. If Triple H can do it well, I don't believe in the draft. I don't think it works, but maybe it'll work this time under a new regime. I don't know, but now I'm interested in that dynamic. What are we doing? Are we going to keep Cody on Raw? Are we going to keep Cody on SmackDown? We're moving Judgment Day now to SmackDown because we know Rey Mysterio's down on SmackDown as well. I mean, where's he go here? So it creates a lot of intrigue in the next couple of weeks towards the end of the month. What's going to happen to? So that's what I kind of took away from it. I love the way it closed out. I love the way that we're getting these matches that we're looking forward to seeing, which wasn't always the case after WrestleMania because let's be honest, Backlash has always been kind of a okay, here we go. Now the momentum's gone. WrestleMania is over, so now it's going to be like
It would
until
basically
to reach SummerSlam, it's not going to pick up again. Yeah,
it would basically be rematches of WrestleMania, basically.
exactly.
So you'd see continuation of that. And I think honestly, though, here's the one time where I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think the only question is where do you want to put Cody Rhodes? But right now, Rhea Ripley and the Judgment Day, they belong on Raw. You just had Adam Pierce and Nick Aldis fight over these free agents. And obviously, Nick Aldis came out on top in all these signings with Breaker and Jade Cargill. And now all of a sudden we're going into a draft where what was the point of signing them when you could lose them potentially in the month?
Yeah.
So if it's not broke, don't fix it. I love seeing the Bloodline on SmackDown. To me, they're a staple on SmackDown. Cody's a staple on Raw. What this past draft has done is actually solidify pieces, because when you think of players, you think of the teams, right? And you didn't have that because there'd be so much switching back and forth. Yes, there's still I don't care about the switching because I like seeing sometimes the guys compete back and forth. That I don't mind too much. But you actually have that now. Actually, when I think of Cody, like I said, I see him on Raw, and SmackDown when he shows up, especially with the storyline with Roman and stuff like that, and vice versa. So I'm used to these guys. I'm used to Bianca on SmackDown.
Yeah, but Jeffrey, you're not gonna have a choice when it comes to Cody or Damian Priest. One of them has to go on one show.
I get it, but I'm saying, fine, if you're going to adjust it to that. But to move say like a Gunther or somebody else to SmackDown. Right now, everything is just working. It's the one thing where I wish they could just go away from. And again, I do trust Triple H and what he's going to do. And now NXT stars are going to be involved. So you saw Ilya Dragunov and you saw Roxanne Perez involved. They could be drafted up to the roster. And also, too, we found out now that people from Raw and SmackDown can get drafted to NXT. So that's the dynamic as NXT goes to their network TV in September. Now they're going to really push hard and see if they can interject some veteran talent to NXT. So it is going to, I guess it is needed, but man, if it ain't broke, dude, don't fix it. It is working. You've got faces that you can identify with. So I don't know how much I would try to fix it, but they're going to in a couple of weeks too. So we'll see what happens. Triple H is this busy guy, man. You go from trying to book Mania and now you got to rearrange your roster. That's completely insane. But it was a good SmackDown. It flew by. And then you go to Raw, and we're going to get Raw at Trend Center because obviously that was the night after Mania. And of course, it was all about throwing the new WWE champion, as you say. Then I'm going to respect you, Trend Center, because, you know, you're the man here. Cody Rhodes, man. Philly was sold out 20,000 plus. And man, Cody is getting this love, dude, that I'm just like, man, he deserves it. I'm happy for him. And now he is the new face. Just what did you feel seeing Cody come out there with that championship, dude? I mean, because it was a long story and we didn't know if it was going to be finalized at Mania. But just think about it, man. Just the feeling of him walking out with that championship on Monday night.
I think I know. And here's I say this with all sensitivity to the wrestling internet community out there, where like some just can't stand Cody, and I get it. And if the tables were turned and it was Roman Reigns, I could understand that as well because hey, business is business, right? So that's how I went into WrestleMania. But to see Cody with that, I'm sorry, man, but with the suit, with that smile, I know some people say he looks more like a heel than he does a baby face, but at the end of the day, it just looked right to me. It was rightfully, I don't say deserved, it was rightfully earned because of all the work that Cody had put into. And again, this not taking anything away from Roman Reigns. I mean, people granted and gave him his flowers as well and wished him and said thank you to Roman Reigns as well for all he has contributed in terms of that lengthy title reign. And the significance of that will be, probably acknowledged, pun intended, right? Down the line as the years go by in terms of how big of a, impact that was and how it revolutionized, in my opinion, the industry as well into a new age that we're dealing with right now, into a new era. But when I looked at Cody with the title, it just looked right. It really did. And maybe if Cody had not left, maybe it could have felt forced, or you're thinking, they're just doing this for Dusty and all this case. But I really feel that with everything Cody's done, and you look at his, quote unquote story of everything he's gone through from leaving WWE to where he went, revolutionized the industry in his own way too, with his friends, the Young Bucks, Kenny, Tony Khan, creating AEW, doing the event all in Chicago, doing all that and coming back. And we even spoke about it too, Jeff, when he was no longer part of WWE. He just carried himself differently and he carried himself like a star. And now he's back in WWE. Again, under the old regime, you're thinking, okay, he'll have his flowers in terms of a WrestleMania main event, and then they'll go away. And it kind of felt that way to a certain degree. But then I think he earned, and the fans showed that they wanted him to continue this route when you had The Rock, a multi-billion-dollar star, in your possession to have a main event with Roman Reigns, and the crowd didn't want that. They actually wanted Cody in that position, interesting enough. And to see that smile on his face and to see all the work he put in, and I hate saying this sometimes because it makes me sound corny too, but I think us as fans, we live vicariously through these characters, these personas, right? And when you see a guy like Cody who's grown up in front of our eyes, you've seen Cody since the beginning, and to see where he is now, it's really fulfilling. So well earned by Cody. I think the crowd just again has bought into who he is as a person and what his character brings, the American Nightmare, and it just fits right now. And it's really hard. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Triple H said this too during the presser too, and I want to get your take on it too. Is like it's really difficult nowadays, especially in this day and age, Jeff, to find a good baby face. And to me, Cody fits the bill ridiculously.
And I'll get to that when we talk about Mania because that's where I want to throw him his flowers because this to me is just it's obviously this you would culminate it at Raw, but since we haven't talked about Mania, I'm going to throw him his flowers there. But what I'm excited about is that the last time there was a baby face like this was Brian Danielson, and we were so excited to lead in, and then he wins it in the Miracle and Bourbon Street and all that. And the question was, what's next? But I've never seen a baby face, and we're talking about John Cena as well too. You've never seen a babyface so well positioned the night after WrestleMania like Cody Rhodes, because what happens? Boom, The Rock comes out. We didn't expect The Rock to be there, but he comes out, and basically they're teasing a possible SummerSlam or WrestleMania main event because The Rock told Cody Rhodes that his feud with Roman is over, and now The Rock wants a piece of Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes, if you think about it, we were talking about maybe a Gunther is going to be positioned for this championship. Now you know that AJ Styles or LA Knight are going to get a crack at Cody Rhodes at Backlash. He is very well positioned, at least for the next few months, with a list of top flight wrestlers that are going to be in line, and you're going to get good matches. It's not and no offense to Kane, right? But you're not going to get a Kane. You're not going to get. And again, I'm not blasting these guys, but you're not. But you're not going to get that kind of. You can get somebody that you're not going to get monsters. Basically, you're going to get AJ Styles, and the biggest star in the world, in The Rock, is going to come back. And to think about where WWE is in position this, it was going to get Rock and Roman, and then you're going to get The Rock for more matches. So he's basically committed to a Cody Rhodes showdown. And before it's all said and done, we're going to get a Rock versus Roman Reigns. But going back to Cody, this has been the best positioned babyface in a long time because Daniel Bryan didn't get it. John Cena has made the best of some of the stars that he's faced. But you have a potential feud with The Rock and then AJ Styles to be your first guy, or LA Knight. That is what excites me for Cody Rhodes, because the what's next, I don't worry about heading into the night after WrestleMania. I kind of felt confident. I just was excited about who is going to be next. And what Triple H has done is he's opened the doors for a lot of different possibilities that get you excited about who's up next for Cody. And even if it was Gunther, right, Brian? That's still a matchup that, hey, sign me up. I want to see these two guys go.
Definitely. I mean, and doesn't it say a lot about the position of the company and where it's going, where you have a guy like The Rock who doesn't come back to WWE or doesn't do this unless it's something worth doing. Now, granted, he's on the board. I get it. But if it's not worth it to him, he's not going to do it. And for him, during this whole scenario, which was the buildup, because we knew what was going to happen, it was going to be Rock and Roman. That's the direction they wanted to go in. The audience definitely chose differently. And then they continued to do this story of Cody and finishing his story. And now The Rock now wanting to work with him, because in all honesty, you didn't see a lot of Roman. You saw a lot of Rock and Cody interaction, and believe it or not, that piqued a lot of interest from the audience. They wanted to see Cody and The Rock go one-on-one. And The Rock's a smart businessman and said, you know what? This is money here. And for the fact that he went out there to do his promo and then build up a tease that this might happen down the road, whether it be SummerSlam or WrestleMania, The Rock doesn't do that for everybody. So that's a huge compliment to Cody.
And then obviously we talk about someone like, and we'll get to, and one more thing about that though, when Cody Rhodes threw the flowers at Roman Reigns and basically talked about how important he was for that run that they had. The crowd loves Roman Reigns, man. He is in line to me. Eventually, you knew he was going to have a babyface run, and now with what you're seeing on SmackDown, you're obviously most likely going to get that on his way back. He might not vie for the title right away, so I'm excited about that as well. And then also too, what would have been next for Rhea? Because now Becky most likely will take some time off, and then you're wondering who's next. And Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, I'm down for that. That was wicked chair shot though. That could have gone wrong. Luckily, nothing happened, but you get a Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. You've got this setup between Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. Things are just, to me, going so well, like a well-oiled machine, that maybe under another regime, you'd probably be thinking, okay, we're spinning around here. We're not trying to make stars, or we're going back to old things. No, but we're doing is we're intertwining storylines and making sense of them.
Yeah, and man, you said it so eloquently. I couldn't even top that, and I'm trying to figure out and put the words together. But it's just everything is just working together, because it's not like you're moving from one thing to the other just for the sake of doing it. They're all connected. The whole Liv Morgan scenario, it's interconnected. after WrestleMania, maybe you forgot about it, and then you quickly reminded, wait a minute, Liv Morgan has a grudge with Rhea Ripley right now and has a revenge tour that was delayed for a little bit, but it's back on now. Chad Gable, who we felt bad that didn't have the opportunity, we wanted him in that spot to dethrone Gunther, but now he's in a story with Sami Zayn that can get very interesting right now because the people are wanting Chad also to have the same type of success. Just goes everywhere, man. In terms of where Gunther lands right now, because we haven't seen him since WrestleMania. Now he no longer has the Intercontinental title. Now, where is he going for? Is he going to go after someone like Cody? Is he going to position himself for somebody like Damian Priest? I mean, the possibilities are endless. And let's not mention too, Jeff, something we're also looking forward to as well. Granted, Seth Rollins might be taking some time off as well, but Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. It's
Oh,
gotten super personal now. Where when these two meet finally, when CM Punk is cleared, it's going to be people are going to want to pay to see that one. And again, just everything interclicks. That's something that I don't think we'd seen in a really long time. Where you don't necessarily have to be focused on the title picture to be invested in what's going on, and that's what we're seeing right now.
oh, most definitely too. That CM Punk thing with Drew is hot and doesn't need a title. So obviously, I believe that Drew's re-signed. Uh,
You hope.
because to me, that would be just somebody that you can't afford to lose. Everyone's important, right? But Drew's just worked his ass off so much. He did get technically his moment at Mania. We'll talk about that shortly too. But he just worked so hard, and this feud with CM Punk, man, doesn't need a title, man. And for a guy like Damian Priest, who's going to be the next guy to vie for that championship? Drew's there possibly down the road, maybe at at Clash at the Castle. So I mean, like I said, it's just to me, it's just exciting. It's like I don't have to worry about how are they going to mess this up, or worry about storytelling because right now they're at top of their game. Again, no pun intended whatsoever here, but seems like we're doing that, and
Yeah, uninvoluntarily we're doing that.
but again, too, that's whole CM Punk thing. So Raw flies by. Man, can I just? I'm not even gonna diss on the Rise Up. It is what it was. That was to me was a little
Not my choice of song though.
not my choice of song. Nothing wrong with it, but just not my choice of song. But you get that, and then Trendsetter. You think we can talk about Mania, right? But no, we cannot because there was other things involved, and we got to discuss about this. Listen, we'll talk about Ronda Rousey, and she just won't stop yapping. We'll talk about that on a clip episode, but the CM Punk AEW thing just does not change. So we head over to Philly and we do a WrestleMania preview, and then the CM Punk interview comes out, and he talks to Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, and basically, the dude just got asked questions. He did not go on there and go on a tirade, or he didn't go and just purposely went to blast AEW. He was asked questions, and instead of giving supposedly the Tony Khan answer, we actually heard legit comments, and we actually got in depth on the All In backstage scenario. So that was surprising to us to hear what happened. And then obviously everyone's heard the interview. You've heard the interview, Trendsetter. Just real quick, the synopsis. Did you have a problem with anything that CM Punk said in that interview? Because to me, I had no problem.
Not really. I think when the clips came out, it seemed to be more like the way it was portrayed. It was a shoot interview, like he was just bashing the company. And listen, I'm the last person to ever defend CM Punk Phil Brooks at all for anything he says or does, right? But he was basically just being asked questions. He was giving his opinion. He was giving his experience of what happened, and he's just telling it. Now you can question should he have said it, should he have not? But his defense would be like, well, you asked me a question, and I don't want to be the guy who says, I can't talk about that right now. So he made a choice. I respect it, and talked about his experience. Now, when he said that when he talked about AEW not being a real company, and just Tony Khan being somewhat of a clown, and just all these things that seemed to be personal shots, he was just basically stating his opinion on stuff. And it's not the first time a company or a former employee from a wrestling company is bashed or buried another company for the way they run things. Won't be the last time too. So I wasn't surprised by it. I didn't take it as a shoe. I just looked at it as wow, he's really opening up and really talking about this stuff, which you wouldn't think, especially around WrestleMania time and the PR, like CM Punk just shut up, right? But that's not him, and he's willing to say these things and not worried about the repercussions of it. I don't think he was I don't think he was punished for it at all from WWE. He just basically answered questions at to his best knowledge of how he recalled the incident. So the way AEW reacted though wasn't that way. It was more of a reactionary um, attack on them. So definitely they interpreted it the wrong way. I don't think Phil Brooks or CM Punk did anything wrong.
Obviously, Hunter kind of had took issue. I don't know if it was Will Ospreay. It kind of had a situation where it would kind of inferred his attack, not attack, but just a little jab at Ospreay about the whole grind and stuff. And I get it. Listen, it takes, like everyone says, it takes a special person or somebody that who wants to do the WWE schedule. You don't have to do the WWE schedule anymore. Obviously, you've been given an option. You can work less dates, you can work less shows, you can show up once a week, and you can collect a nice paycheck if Tony Khan is interested in you. And all power to you. And that's how they're doing it over there, and that's fine. WWE is always going to give you that option of being that bigger star, and actually, to other people, what they say, WrestleMania is still a big uh, goal for some of these guys. So I still believe WrestleMania is a nice carrot to dangle in front of somebody that wants to do it, but it's a different athlete. It's not like somebody in the Attitude Era that like a Jericho that just wanted to come over there and bust his ass and go to the place where he's always wanted to go, where like he said everything was in black and white, and then it was like the Wizard of Oz, and he comes in and everything's in color, right? That was the mentality when you were in WCW in its final days and its final years, whatever. You wanted to go to WWE. Now you don't have that option. Now you can work lesser dates. It's a new mindset for these new young talents that just want to get the star ratings and do this and that. I don't take anything away from Okada and Ospreay and Mercedes, who I believe is just healing up until whenever her contract is over, she goes back to WWE. She collects a nice paycheck and she comes back refreshed. But you can tell it's not changing anything with the ratings and stuff. And then Adam Copeland Edge, who I think, you know, tried to be a locker room leader, but I think was the wrong person to have that speech after. And you could tell that they had thick skin because he was out there and he blasted promo saying, "Oh, we should all love wrestling, this and that." Kind of taking a session with CM Punk said, and all just gets bigger and bigger, and it snowballs trendsetter to this whole thing where now we get the backstage footage of All in London, and this kind of took away a little bit from WrestleMania Sunday because this was the talk after Collision on Saturday night, late night, and then you get the footage and much ado about nothing, if you ask me. And honestly, I don't want to yell. I don't want to rant. We met Tony Khan at the Ring of Honor press conference, and he seems like a good dude. I think he loves wrestling. I think he's a fan. I just think some of this stuff just leaves you scratching your head sometimes. And there's no situation, Trendsetter, where what good did it do? I still could give two shits about Jack Perry. You know how I feel about that douche. He should have been fired a long time ago because he cost you your biggest asset. But Trendsetter, all these steps after the interview, honestly, did anything else make sense to you as we headed into WrestleMania weekend?
No, not at all. I think the release of it didn't make any sense at all. If you're gonna do it for the sake of drawing more people to draw ratings to your show, I don't know if it made that much of a difference, and it really didn't. There was some interest and intrigue to see if the video was as bad as it was, or also to see if CM Punk was lying about the whole situation. And when you saw it, it was a lot of nothing. It was kind of a schoolyard, not even a fight. It wasn't even close to a fight. It was just people pushing themselves and somebody getting locked in a headlock for a short period of time, and maybe monitors being tipped over, and it quickly was broken apart by everyone that was there. So when I go back and see was CM Punk lying, no, pretty much what you saw was what you heard CM Punk talk about, and then for them to present it at the end served no purpose, because if you're going to say you're using this to build up the storyline between FTR and the Young Bucks, there's sure other ways you could do it if you're using them to piggyback off of what he said. Because in terms of retaliatory, it wasn't really retaliatory towards CM Punk. It didn't work in their favor. It was really for nothing, in my opinion. And then I look back at the film and I think to myself, so this is what happened that Tony Khan said that he feared for his life. I don't know. I don't know if Tony Khan's been in a lot of fights or a lot of skirmishes like that, but to me, it really wasn't anything to be afraid of, or for somebody to make a statement like that I feared for my life at that particular moment, because it was broken up pretty quickly. So I don't really understand what AW's direction was to do that, to present it, to announce it. Could it be they're trying to take some momentum off of WrestleMania? Okay, I don't think it took a lot of momentum away from it anyway, because a lot of people thought, okay, we'll see what happens. But it's like, for example, they were going to release the video from the Brawl Out scenario. They're going to probably talk about it. That's completely different. But it was a whole lot of nothing. If it served to spike up the ratings a little bit, congratulations. But then that was it. I don't think it served a purpose whatsoever.
And I look forward to Dynasty. They have some pretty decent matches. I think Swerve and Samoa Joe is going to be good. We'll talk about Dynasty next week as well too, as we get ready for that show. But again, it just much ado about nothing. And again, I will say this though. I will say this because everybody talks. My heart was kind of palpitating a little bit, seeing, oh my god, we're actually whatever. So they did pique interest, but only 60,000 more viewers. And then the fans were chanting CM Punk for a little bit. And then Tony's going to come on Twitter and then say, hey, we saw uptick in ratings and we saw blah, 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 plus 20%, this and that. Okay. What's next? The footage from the MVP punching out Chris Jericho on the Jericho Cruise. Is that next? Is that what we're going to do? I don't know, man. And then
I can understand shock value, but to me, that only works if you're able to sustain it after you present it. To do that and then use it for building up this rivalry between the Young Bucks and FTR, I don't know if you really needed that, to be honest with you. So I get shock value, but only if it helps increase the attention for people to want to see what's next. One guy doesn't work for your company anymore. The other guy's in Japan, so there's no way these two could ever meet up for a payoff match. So to me, it wasn't worth it to say that this was part of building the storyline between FTR and the Young Bucks. And the Young Bucks, they were distracted because they were trying to do EVP work, which I never saw them in the room or part of the footage to begin with anyway. So I don't know how they're trying to handle it. That's the reason why they lost to the FTR at All In. Okay. I mean, they're really pulling on strings here, unfortunately.
And then again, too, then you see, little bitch Jack Perry come out at Windy City Riot, and then he comes out with the Crimea River jacket and the Chicago flag and the Riot Squad and all that. And good for you. You still have no personality. I don't believe you on the mic. You look sickly to me. So I don't. There's nothing about that guy that to me increased his street credibility in that. And in fact, him backing away and then looking all flustered after they're trying to remove Psycho Punk because he went all psycho, it just makes you look weak. And what I really thought you were, weak. And
listen, when you showed me that, I wasn't surprised because hey, you're gonna use momentum. Any type of publicity you get, you're gonna use it. So I can't fault Jack Bayer for doing that.
And also, too, the only thing I look forward to now on AEW is the Tony Storm, Mariah May segments, because honestly, that's pretty freaking hot. They're making out every time. And, they're bringing back HLA. I'm all for it. Tony Storm, I mean, just those makeout sessions with Mariah May. I mean, let's go. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens next week. That's something.
I can't wait for a 20-minute segment on that. I have no idea.
I know. We should have a segment just on Mariah May and Tony Storm's makeout sessions. And then the one final thing to Trendsetter is at the end of the day, when you think about all this, they got butt hurt because a guy that they were friends with didn't end up getting fired. He never was fired.
No.
He just ended up being on another show. So the dude that you complained about that you thought this guy helped get fired really didn't get fired at all. He just moved to another show. So who knows that? And then Kenny Omega comes out, and Kenny Omega basically seems to be the, believe it or not, the one with the level head. And what he said on his stream was that him and CM Punk, while they're not friends or they're not going to get, Mindy's Bakery anytime soon, they have this mutual respect for one another. So Kenny goes, there's other factors that probably stopped them from ever working again together, because even Kenny said, hey, sometimes you do have to fight it out. And what bothers me, Trendsetter, is these weak-minded people on social media that think that sometimes you need to beat the hell out of each other, right? And then what happens? You get over it, you shake hands, and you work together. That's something that's happened in the business forever. And because you see it, you're like, oh, how can you go to blows? People have gone to blows for years and years in this business, man. And Kenny was so level-headed, and then he was willing to work afterwards. But the other factors, there's two factors, Trendsetter, Matt and Nick.
They are, man. Again, egos, personalities sometimes don't mesh too. But when it comes to this is where I, from my own personal experience, and I can't speak for you too, Jeff, that eventually in life, and not to get philosophical here, but you have to work with people you don't like, and you don't really like a lot. I work with people honestly that if they're on fire, I wouldn't piss on them to put them out. That's how much I don't like them. But I still worked with them, and I still was a professional because at the end of the day, that's what this whole business is all about making money and being professional as possible. Because when you go out there, you're trusting yourself with your body. I do agree somewhat with what Kenny said too, that sometimes the old school perception is looked at in a negative nowadays because of the culture we live in nowadays. But sometimes, whether it be siblings or friends, sometimes you just need to fight it out a little bit to kind of get over and get to the next level of not necessarily, like I said, being best friends or ever, or like putting it all behind you and now looking at it from a different perspective. But sometimes you just need to let that out to move on and to continue. And to me, that would have been so much more a scenario where so much money was left off the table because whether you want to believe the Young Bucks didn't want to talk to him anymore, they didn't want to have a meeting with him, or CM Punk didn't want to have a meeting, whatever, all of them should have been adult enough just to meet in the middle. And a lot of that, unfortunately, goes on leadership, where if you have leadership and management there that can help, not mend or but clear the fence in terms of allowing both sides to meet up and kind of mesh this out to get it corrected so we can move on. This is what ends up happening now. So looks like Kenny was willing to do that. I don't know if the Young Bucks were willing to do that. And like you said, all this started with the fact that individuals thought through unfortunate miscommunication with the company that a friend of theirs was let go when that wasn't the case. And all this for what? That one of your biggest straws was no longer there, didn't want to be there anymore. And now he's at another company, your supposed rival company, and now you're trying to patch up the things that are going on right now, which the AEW don't seem to be going very well. What was it all for? It was for nothing. So
And I'll tell you this: I don't think that Kenny and the Young Bucks have the same relationship that they used to.
I don't think so either.
I honestly, I do not think that their relationship is the same as it was last year. I think there's something there. I think
In
that,
time you could grow apart, but especially when you're put in this position where when they first started, we used to watch a lot of episodes of Being the Elite. They all had similar mentality. But when you're finally create something and it's now going in different directions and you're presented with an EVP title, or again forget that, but you're presented in terms of helping direct where this place is going and how it's going to evolve. Sometimes there are too many cooks in the kitchen, and then that scenario, I'm not saying in this case though, but that's where resentment and anger and frustration and egos get involved. And I don't think they're the same. I think they're still friendly and cordial to each other, but I don't think they're best friends like they used to be.
and that's crazy. And we'll find out what goes on now because obviously we head into Dynasty. We hope Kenny can recover, and obviously he's enlightened us with his Twitch streams too. So hopefully Kenny continues to do that. But hopefully we see him in the ring where he belongs. And that's that on Dynamite and stuff. And we'll see if they can be salvaged. I'm not sure. We'll find out what happens next week in the ratings. We'll see what happens with Mercedes Monet and all that good stuff. Now we'll talk a little bit about WrestleMania because what's there to be said, Trendsetter, that everybody's already talked about. They've gushed over WrestleMania, the main event. But before you get to that, night one, just real quick, obviously it was freezing cold. Obviously there was a really difference in the fans between night one and night two. Obviously it has to do with the weather. I totally believe that that's the case. But we saw Rhea Ripley retain the title in a good match. You saw The Rock and Roman Reigns defeat Cody and Seth. Night one, to me, they had that one extra match, but it's did you I enjoyed it, but I think that the weather kind of put a damper on night one to me.
It definitely did. I mean, the audience was excited for it. As the night progressed, got colder and colder due to the wind. And so, no matter how enthusiastic you want to be, when you're shivering cold and it's blowing wind in your face, and you're just wanting the night to get over so you can leave and get to someplace warm, it's tough to enjoy. It's tough to feel that in terms of translating on camera. But the crowd was there. I didn't see really much of an empty seat though in terms of that. So they showed up. Just the conditions were what they were. So I enjoyed night one. I could have enjoyed it better if it wasn't, 37 degrees and a wind chill going of like gushing 5-10 miles per hour. Would have been better, right? But I think night one was still a success because from the beginning match with Rhea and Becky all the way to the end with the tag team match, it all did what it was supposed to do. It led you to night two and gave you some anticipation what was going to happen.
So to me, the highlight of WrestleMania night one was Sami Zayn and Gunther. I think that match
Talk
was
about upsets, man.
amazing. I think Gunther is special, and I am looking forward to see what he does now. And obviously, to me, I believe he is going for the world title, which wherever he gets drafted, whatever, whenever he comes back. But a great match. Sami Zayn, to me, the last few weeks got me into it. The whole Rocky lead into with Chad Gable to get to this point now where we see Gable and Sami Zayn, and how crazy if Gable loses Sami Zayn on Raw and then turns heel in Montreal. Ooh, the vitriol, the hatred for Chad Gable if he loses to Sammy and he goes nuts and he pulls a Backlund, right? But back to Gunther. That was the highlight to me. Very good matchup. Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, amazing. Great way to open the show. You got new tag team champions in uh Theory and Grayson Waller, and then you got the Miz and you got R-Truth, which is good. But besides the Rock and Roman and Cody and Seth for what they did, to me the low light, unfortunately, was the brother versus brother match
Mm.
because we're sitting there and sometimes it just doesn't gel. I don't know if they didn't get a chance to tell the story, but man, that fell flat.
It did.
I did not enjoy that 1 second. And sometimes just brothers are meant to be tag teams.
That too, man. I mean, again, it was shades to me of Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. It was shades of Goldust and Stardust when they had their first match. It was horrendous. Sometimes it just doesn't click. That's why to me the best brother versus brother was Brett and Owen. And the only reason why is that you could trust these two individuals to to work really well together in terms of having that chemistry. It doesn't work. You can have chemistry as tag team partners. You can have chemistry with other individuals as a single competitor, that Jimmy and Jay have proven. But sometimes those two together just doesn't work. Now I'm willing to give benefit where in terms of I'm willing to give people a one off there in terms of an escape because maybe you count them on a bad night, but what a bad night to have it at WrestleMania.
Had a really bad night.
I don't think they should do it again.
No,
And the way storyline's presenting itself now that Jay is on Raw and Jimmy's out, who knows if these two can reconcile? Maybe it'll have to be another match, unfortunately, for
Jay
them to
wants.
reconcile.
No, Jay wants to.
Yeah, he wants to. We'll see. But I don't think it should be a long term thing. I think they're better together than they are apart, especially outside of the ring. And yeah, just didn't live up to the hype I guess they thought it was going to be. And obviously the crowd being cold didn't help out either.
So we go to night 2, Trendsetter, and of course, this was the night, man. Wondering if Cody is going to finish the freaking story. Is he going to? So many variables. The Roman Reigns documentary, uh, throwing a little bit of cold water because it was also Roman Reigns' I guess, redemption from 5 years, almost. No, yeah, no, actually, almost 10 years.
And here's to the day.
The Rumble in Philly, but man, we got magic, and a lot of people have. I have not heard anything bad said about this matchup, and so let's just talk about the other matchups real quick. Obviously, Bailey, give her due, her kudos. That was great. As well as to all the other stuff that happened too. Obviously, good for really good night, whatever. Good leading Logan Paul showing you why only 12 matches in, he's still you know amazing. His future's bright. And then let's see, Randy. Maybe Randy gets involved somewhere down the road against Cody Rhodes, but man, we were talking before. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns have this chemistry. I'm not saying it's Flair and Dusty or Hogan Savage on that level, but they make you, at the end of the day, they make you want a Reigns Cody Rhodes 3.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I told you about that, where it's amazing how much chemistry these two have in the ring. They tell a story. They have great ring psychology, I believe. And I compared it to the last time I was this interested in a match, especially a second go around. First ever time in a long time, these back to back main events where it was 39 and now 40 for Cody and Roman, Rock and Austin. That was the last time I could ever remember seeing a video package. And kudos to the production team. What a great video package that was leading into the main event. That I was psyched up for this even more because I was so invested in both individuals. I was invested in Austin. I was invested in Rock for their match in Houston, Texas. And I was so invested, and not even Houston, Texas, also at WrestleMania 15 when they faced for the title as well. And this one between Roman and Cody, they're polar opposites, but in this industry, right? Opposites attract and opposites make money. And there's just something there between the two of them because maybe it has to be that their family heritage in the business. You respect it, you see it, you see that it's bred in them, and it just comes off natural with the two of them. And to me, that they have, to me, one of the best main event chemistry. Because sometimes you can have that and it doesn't live up to the billing. It just doesn't, no matter what. I mean, last I can remember was, no offense, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. Everyone was excited for that main event, and it kind of fell flat. It wasn't the Tokyo Dome match. It was a good match, but it didn't live up to the hype people were building in their head. I think at 39 and 40, it lived up even more to the build up in terms of what these two could do together. And I feel down the road there will eventually, I think, be a Cody Roman 2. Sorry, 3.
Yeah. And then not only that, but then you add Cena, Taker, just that mix to 40 years of Mania. You didn't get Stone Cold. Man, Stone
It's probably
Cold.
one of the gripes I had. Probably I wanted to hear that glass shatter, but it didn't happen.
Man, Stone Cold, I don't know. I respect you. So whatever your choice was, we got to see you at 38. So I can't complain.
Yeah,
That would have been man, it's like that would have been another cherry on top of that
if
amazing.
that stadium had a roof, it would have been blown off. The glass shattered.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Everyone says that it would have blown off the roof had it, and I wish it had a roof. I wish I would love to seen the balloon roof off.
I would have loved if it had a roof.
It would have been nice and warm.
Hmm.
But um just everybody's role and seeing that and then getting the positive feedback from everybody on this match and then hearing this show called the Flagrant Podcast and seeing one of their hosts who isn't a wrestling fan but saw that, I guess saw the highlight package and saw the whole emotion, saw Roman Reigns, saw Samantha um,
Irvin,
Irvin get emotional, saw Cody hand the title to his mom, saw everything.
that got me. That broke me right there.
Undertaker, seeing all that and the storytelling. That's why we're wrestling fans, man. And that was just tremendous. And again, I can't say anything bad about that main event. And I do want to throw flowers to at Seth Rollins, man, because again, we barely talked about the Drew McIntyre Seth match, but here it is. Seth Rollins is very selfless, man. Give him credit for whatever you think of the guy. For he loves this business. He became a team player when his match with Punk got derailed. It brought up Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre got a spot, and you can see, man, Seth loves, man. He loves the guy. He's told him that you deserve it. I don't know if he was in on the cash in, but then you got Damian Priest cash it in. Here's a guy that's busted his butt. And I told you, man, it was about Damian Priest cashing it at Mania. And
Yeah,
at WrestleMania, man, it was cash it in there or not, or at least lose it and get yourself out of this stupid briefcase thing that you've been carrying forever. And he did it. And Damian Priest has a lot of potential too. And he's a guy that's re-signed with the company too. And Seth, very selfless. And then the stories trendsetter, man, talking about being Cody's shield. And we're all getting emotional. He said he was going to be his shield. And then and then Roman Reigns, he had to make the decision whether he hated Cody enough to give him a chair shot or his hatred for Seth Rollins because of breaking up a faction that Roman Reigns didn't want to break up in the Shield. And he hits Seth Rollins and leaves the door for Cody Rhodes. So Roman made his choice
and
and
dug his own grave.
his own grave, and that's the reason why he's not the champion. It's not on Cody.
But this is the amazing thing. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but this is the amazing thing that I'm talking about. We're diving into this more in depth. And that's what we didn't get before in the past, I feel. These layers of, yes, Seth being Cody's shield or Roman's hatred. He had a choice. He chose his revenge over the title. All these things are amazing and leaves the door open again for more possibilities down the road of things we could see. But that's what we weren't getting before in the past. That's why I told you before when we talked about the WrestleMania preview, I don't remember the last time I was ever this psyched up, regardless of what happened, whether Cody finished his story, which is what I wanted, or Roman continued this legendary title reign. I was so excited because I wanted to see how it would end up. It's like when you're looking at a movie and you're looking so forward to it. I can't wait to see how they do this. And that was my experience. Despite the cold, I just loved how it was all designed.
38, you had Cody come back, and then you had some good matches too, like Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, all that stuff. And you were happy about that. And Vince still was in charge, but you could tell that it was a little bit better show. 39, less of Vince, and still he had his hand in it, but you liked 39. You could say that the first Cody match you were anticipated because you thought Cody was going to finish the story there. It would have made sense. And then you get 40, and it's like 2 years in the making of all this storytelling, and you get satisfied. And that's all you can do, man. That's all you can do.
And I think the reason why people were so emotional, I mean, obviously they're invested in this. They have a feeling for Cody that, I can't really put into words and describe. I can only describe the way I feel when I look at something like Cody Rhodes and how happy I was for him when he finally had his moment there, right? But it was also, this to me is proof that long-term storytelling is now possible. And the payoff for it means so much more because if Cody had won at 39, of course, it would have been the storybook ending. It would have been everything would have worked out. It would have been great. Now, the fact that he had to go through another year of this, him to win the Royal Rumble again, and put himself in a category that many can claim to be winning back to back Royal Rumbles, right? And to see Roman Reigns continue this lengthy title reign into the history books where he's a bona fide Hall of Famer, no doubt, and the greatest of all time. That's up for debate, right? He's definitely in the conversation to this point where it finally was so much. You saw Brandy Rhodes on the stage, you saw the skull mask, you saw the emotion on his face to get there and thinking this is his last shot. Either I do it or I don't. And for it to happen and see everyone from the commentators to grown men in the higher blood nosebleed sections like we were to everybody like Samantha Irvin couldn't even get the words out. And in the production of it, not just finishing off the show and then us seeing that at the end of the night, the speech and the celebration, but for the celebration to continue on, they kept airing the celebration. That's something you wouldn't see in the old regime too. So it made it more special because it felt like everyone was sharing that moment with Cody, and that's where to me the magic in pro wrestling, why you and I love it so much. I can't speak for you, but you love it so much because it involves everyone and it garners your not just interest but your emotional feel for it as well, which is what we got. It was great, man. It was an awesome event,
And
despite the weather.
my final thing on it is I've said it a long time, and I would love to when we one day tell Cody, like, Cody, you knew you were going to come back. It was your goal all the time. You could say whatever you wanted, but your main goal was to, like, yeah, at that point, tell Vince, look what I did, man, you know, and just show you that I can be that guy. And then coming back, working with Triple H, working with somebody he respects and admires, and to lead all to this whole story, uh, amazing. He bet on himself. And look where he's at right now. And that if that's not motivating to somebody, I don't know what is. Some people just like well, how do I start that? Well, you find a way how to start it, and then you just carry on what Cody did, right? And so what we did on Instagram was on the weekend is we put a little 1 week into the anniversary for Cody. We did a little celebration on Instagram. So make sure you follow us on our Instagram where we paid tribute 1 week after WrestleMania, and we did a little Cody Day this past Sunday on IG. So make sure you follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. And it
And
was
I'll leave it this real quick, Jeff, and I'll leave it to this point too. How Cody said that this whole story started with the fact of him coming back to WrestleMania and wanting to win the WWE Championship so he can hand it to his father and say that nobody can take it away from you now. I would say the same thing for Cody. For him to have that moment, them handing him the title, I could say safely to Cody, if I ever got a chance to speak to him, say, now nobody can take it away from you. And that's the reality. Nobody can take, despite what you want to feel about Cody and how you felt about the Roman Reigns title reign, should have ended, should have not have ended. Nobody can take it away from him that he didn't earn that spot, and he did.
yeah. And then not to mention you had a great Hall of Fame, and then NXT Stand and Deliver was great. The official signing of Julia, everything just is a tremendous week. Again, Philadelphia, besides the weather, amazing host city. And great ending to the story. And now we're excited because a whole new story begins and a new era of WB is upon us. And of course, we'll find out if AEW can, maybe maintain their little ratings increase. And we want the best for these companies, so we want them to succeed. So hopefully, they'll lead into a good dynasty show and we get more positives coming out of AEW. But guys, listen, man, follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. This is great. Well, great to come back and talk wrestling with you guys now that WrestleMania now is in the rear view mirror, and now we head to WWE Backlash and AEW Dynasty and all these other different things that are going on in the world of wrestling. We thought we could take a few days off, but we couldn't, man. We had to get back the grind. And so Give us a like and subscribe on the Give Us a Shot Network. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew, Jeff Martin, the Trendsetter, powered by Fast Break Coffee. All our social media, High Spot Podcast, and also too on all podcast platforms. If you can't see the video, make sure you check out the audio release the same time as the video. And guys, we thank you so much. And Trendsetter, close it out because you are the closer. You are the Edwin Diaz of closers here on the show. So take it away, Trendsetter. Great show. And man, WrestleMania was awesome.
Yeah, I better close it out before I get injured, which is very likely for me, or getting sick, one of the two. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the High Spot Podcast. We are at the end of the road to WrestleMania. It is over. It's done. But the road with us, guys, is just getting started in this new era of WWE, in this new scenario where it's a brand new season of pro wrestling, and no greater time to be a fan. We thank you. For the scoundrel Jeff Martin, I am the Trendsetter Brian Berger. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew. Thank you guys so much. And remember, even though the road to WrestleMania is over, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the
Crew. Pro wrestling's back.